Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation.
Mayor, Council, thanks for having us. Let's pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day of life we've had. We give you thanks for this community. We ask that tonight you'll guide these, our elected members of the council and mayor, to have good discussion, wise and deliberate decisions, and that you'll continue to bless this community. And we ask you to keep watching over those who help to protect us in law enforcement and first responders. Keep them all safe and watch over their families when their loved ones are out doing whatever they're called to do. And we ask that you give us patience till springtime rolls around, and keep blessing all the folks that are keeping our streets clean. We give you thanks for all your gifts. Above all, we thank you for your love and your forgiveness. And we bring this all to you in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
There, see?
There he is.
Perfect timing.
Thank you very much.
The man with an entrance.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher.
Here.
McCardle.
Here.
Barrington.
Yeah.
Allen.
Here.
Sharps. Here. Smith.
We have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items.
Mayor, I've got a couple items on the agenda total that I'd like to update and make a motion for change. One is item number 13, to table that until the next meeting due to public safety needing more time to get some specific definition information for the Axon body camera system.
Okay.
And I'd like to add an executive session between item 13 and 14 for legal discussion.
Do we need to act on those each separately?
We can take them as they come up.
Okay.
So we'll do a motion for tabling 13 when we get to that item.
Okay.
And then before we proceed with 14, we can do the motion. And by that time, I'll be able to look up the code section for you to cite it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else on the agenda items?
One item I'd like, if possible, for us to get some background information on the annual report, a highlight of, since it is our 2018, hopefully final financial and other information that we send to the state.
Yep, the annual report is included in the packet. This is the prescribed format by South Dakota Department of Legislative Audit. There could be some minor changes once the audit is finished. I don't anticipate anything. So these numbers should be relatively close. I just thought I'd go through and just kind of maybe show you where to look for things. It basically lists our balance sheets and our revenue and expense reports. One thing to look at with the funds, I don't know if you can pull it up. So exhibit 4. So if you go down a little bit, Justin. Yeah, keep going. Page 5 of exhibit 4. So no, keep going. There's still. No, keep going. Okay, this is the report. So right there. Right there. Perfect. This is the end of Exhibit 4. So on the annual report, you have to list the major funds separately, and then you can combine the other funds. The general fund, you can see the beginning fund balance at the beginning of the year, and also the park fund balance. And then the ending fund balance is where we ended the year. So it looks like we're up about $300,000 in the general fund balance as of the end of the year. So when you're looking through this, those are kind of some of the points to look at, is the beginning fund balance to the ending fund balance, which will tell you if we had more money coming in or going out during the calendar year. Some other, let's see. If you go down to Exhibit 6, these are the enterprise funds, and it'll be a little ways down. Keep going. Right there. So yep, you can go down a little bit further. That might be 5. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
What's the next
So I can
page?
see that whole page.
There we go.
One more.
Exhibit
Yep,
5,
so go to
page
page
1.
6.
6.
Yep. And one more page. One more
That's
page down.
exhibit 6.
Yep, no, go down.
Okay.
Right there. These are the enterprise funds here. So it lists each of those separately: water, sewer, airport, sanitation, Corn Palace, golf course, and campground. And so here you can see how each of the enterprise funds has done throughout the year. The last column on there is the internal service fund, which is our self-insured health insurance fund. And that has shown a strong increase in that fund. However, we are expecting some extra expenses, or more than normal, maybe possibly next year. But it is looking healthier than it has been. And then go down just a couple pages to right here. This is the schedule of long-term debt. And it shows here that we have retired like 3.1 million. If you go down one more page, it'll have the totals in debt during 2018, and this includes TIF balances though as well. So debt service from property taxes received and then paid off on TIFs. And we really didn't add any additional debt this year. We had a little bit in the custom cycles TIF, number 22, and then just our OPEB obligation, which is other post-employment benefits. That's an adjusting entry at the end of the year on that.
So, Michelle, we're in debt at $22 million, is that correct?
Yes, and that is including our TIFs.
Okay.
Yep, that is our ending balances.
And what was it a year ago?
25.7.
So we're down a little.
Yeah, we're down about 3 million.
That's a good problem. That's
Yes.
better.
Yep, and a majority of the TIFs are doing fairly well. So we should have a few more being paid off in the next few years. Iverson was the last one that was paid off. That was paid off beginning of 18, or end of 17 actually.
Are we getting close with this Hitchcock pool?
Yes,
that
that one is paid off this year in 19 in
That's what I
December.
Go
thought.
up one page, will you? Yeah, right.
Enough money or overspent on budgets or what we had to add money for in supplementals. But those are pretty much the highlights of the annual report. While you're looking through it, those are kind of the things to look at. If you have any questions, you can sure give me a call or email me. Does anybody else have any questions right now?
I don't have any others. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. And that's sent to the state by a certain date?
Yep, I will send it to the state once minutes are approved tonight.
Okay. And is
Yep.
the audit with our internal audit done from?
They were
I can't remember who's doing it. Is it
Yellow.
Yellow's doing
Yep,
it?
they were here last week for field work, so they'll finish it up in the next couple of months, hopefully.
Okay.
Some years takes longer than others, but
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I will move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion?
one comment, and I just want to point this out, make sure people are aware. One of the items is authorization of Homeland Security grant funds, so there will be in the future metal detectors at the Corn Palace for some events, and I want to make sure people are aware that that's being approved in the consent agenda. Scott, any idea on timing, if that goes through and when all that would happen?
No idea on timing. We have to get search and rescue. They've agreed to get trained with these devices, so working with Jeff Bathke, search and rescue, making sure they get trained, and then looking at implementing them for the first concert at Corn Palace Festival this year.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yep.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address these items? Roll call vote, please.
Sabers. Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington. Allen.
Aye.
Sharks. Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Your presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken this time. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council? Any council members have any comments?
I thought that in light of the immense amount of snow that we've had and the overwhelming task that we've given our road crews, I thought maybe I'd let Kevin come up and talk to us about some of the challenges. I know that we've had some issues on Ullman, and so do you want to come up and talk? I just had a lot of people ask about, you know, how, well, I knew that it was half county and half city, so I thought maybe Kevin could address that a little bit and talk to us about the challenges that you guys are facing in this kind of storm cycle.
Let's see here. I think the Ullman one you're talking about was the one that was drifting off Pebble Beach.
Yes, and then also between 23rd and 8th Street.
Between 23rd and 8th Street, half that's county and half that's city. The city does maintain that as part of an emergency route. So that's one that's usually gone over quite a bit. I know the winds have been giving us some grief once in a while because we don't staff over the weekends and 24 hours a day. So usually it takes a phone call before we'll call people in to take care of drifting and stuff. I mean, if it's during the week and stuff, we usually, I mean, we go around the town and we knock out drifts, or we'll peel back like Spruce Street, Havens, the bypass and stuff. We'll wing back in hopes of, you know, if the wind does come up, that it'll hold a little more snow. I know there was an event on Ullman. Really good job usually letting us know in advance, you know, if things are starting to drift. They call us if there's any kind of road condition issues. But you know, they might not get around the town everywhere either and see one little thing. We've had one of the worst winters probably in the last 10 or 15 years. We got a lot of snow. The boulevards are full. The streets are getting a little bit narrow because you can't stay curb to curb right now. because if we want to be curb to curb, you're going to see the trucks going even faster. Right now, we still got them. I mean, they run about 18 miles an hour. I know people say 30, 35. I tracked every one of ours this year, 18 miles an hour, 17, 18, 19. That's it. By the way the snow goes, it looks like they're going faster. They're not. If we want to be curb to curb right now, you're going to have every driveway and every sidewalk filled plumb back full. Our plows ain't even getting the snow any higher anymore because it just comes right back down. So there's a lot of issues with it right now, and we're dealing with it the best we can. Our people don't understand. I know some things that people don't understand is we don't have downward pressure on our snow plows. We run 2 motor graders and about 8 plow trucks. Our plow trucks, once there gets to be a coating of ice or a shelf of snow on the pavement, our plow is right on top of it. There's no cutting to our plows. Only thing that'll actually do any cutting are our motor graders. And even our one-ways on our payloaders, we can put some down pressure and then we can cut. We usually do that in parking lots and stuff. But then you got to be careful about peeling up the chip seals, and there's a lot of things going on. Sanborn's, they're starting to really pothole again. The weather conditions are really causing grief on some of that. So we're going to try to get a patch buggy out, but we got to be careful with that because the cold mix doesn't stay in the patches. The salt and the moisture get underneath those patches, they pop out, and if we pick those up in a snowblower, we already lost a brand new snowblower this year. We got 1 snowblower left to get us through this winter, and the other one ain't going to be fixable, the one that's down right now. We're crossing a little thing with that right now. And then there's other things that people don't see, you know. I mean, a lot of these guys, when we plow the town, we run 10 hours, 10, 11 hours, and that's based off about a 4-inch snow. We've had a few bigger snows. We've had a lot more wind than we've normally had. And then we come in and we do District A at 11 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we still got parking lots to get picked up. And if you get an 8-inch snow, District A takes 2 nights. So then you got 2 nights where people are coming in from 11 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night till 8, 9 in the morning. And quite frankly, the residents are running out of places to put their snow. I wouldn't even want to shovel it as high as some of them. And some of them don't have snow blowers. And so a lot of sidewalks and driveways are ending out in the street areas. And then, you know, we get a call that we have to come and clean them up, you know, and then there's parked cars. So there's just a lot of things going on with snow removal right now. We've had a lot of snow, to be quite frank. Dealing with it the best we can, I guess. And yeah, it's supposed to snow Thursday and Saturday again. Saturday they're saying 6, 7 inches again.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming up and talking about that. I think that it's important for the public to be aware that you guys are making every effort that you can and the challenges that you're being faced with. And so I appreciate you taking a minute to address those things.
Yep.
Thanks, Kevin.
Mayor and Council, just to expand a little bit on that too. Kevin's been tracking each event as well, and they range from anywhere from 3 days to 6 days in some cases. From the end of December through 2 weeks ago, not including last Friday. There were 6 storm events. Last Friday was the 7th storm event. Again, he's tracking the number of hours and overtime that his crew has endured, and it ranges again for each storm event anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. So in addition to the money, there's just a lot of work that's being done by these crews. So I appreciate what they've been doing. And a lot of times it's, you know, an event happens on Thursday, Friday, and they're working Saturday and Sunday to keep the roads clear. Or it ends up happening the day before a holiday, and the crew comes in on that holiday.
And I think that, you know, sometimes we we as the public have a little bit of tunnel vision and we only see our particular circumstances. And I just think it's important for us to all understand the challenges that are being faced by the streets department. So thank you. You're doing a great job.
Other comments, council members? Okay. Item 8, hearing and action on application to transfer retail on-off sale malt beverage license RB 2838, Myers Oil Company, Inc., doing business as All-Star Sports Bar, 1510 South Burr Street, the Myers Oil Company, Inc., doing business as Dakota Sunset Shell, 1524 West Havens Avenue, Mitchell, South Dakota.
We would have no opposition from public safety for the approval of this.
Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Hearing on proposed resolution of necessity for 1500 block of East 2nd and 3rd Alley.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I know I'm going to let Terry take this item, but I just wanted to explain that I know there's a lot of opinions out there on how to deal with the alley. It's not a straightforward solution. There's a lot of thought that goes into that. We do use the alleys. The residents use the alleys for access to garages. There's access for our trash pickup as well through the alleyways. So it's an important part of the city and an important part of our development as well. And we do have a process for the hearing and assessment. I'll let him go through that process, but I did want to let you know that it's a little more complex than a straightforward answer.
So at this time we will hold the public hearing. What I'll do to start with is I'll try to explain how the hearing process goes through and how the special assessment process goes through. If the council decides to vote in favor of this assessment, then the property owners will have a chance within 20 days to bring in a petition, and the petition has to have at least 55% of the voters against it. So it'd be 55% of the total value of the entire assessment against it in order for us not to do this special assessment. The special assessment on this project is a 6-inch thick concrete alley, 16 feet wide, with about 8 inches of gravel base underneath the alley. We would totally go through and remove all the old gravel, all the old base, regrade it, and try to match in with the backyards, the driveways, and everything like that to get all the water coming from the backyards and the garages to come into that alley and then drain into the cross street. If this does go through, we will build the alley this summer, and then we would assess all the property owners next year during a collection hearing. At the time when we have the hearing, the property owner will have 30 days after the hearing to pay their bill without any interest, or they could have it go on their taxes for 10 years. It'd be 10 year of payments that would be at 8% interest, and it would come out of the first half of the property taxes for 10 years. So that's the kind of the process we go through. About 2 or 3 years ago, Justin, can you pull up the pictures? We were requested by a couple of the property owners to come take a look at this alley. At the time when we looked at it, we were full on some of our projects, so we couldn't fit it in. So I wanted to get it, and we've been asked to take a look at this alley. As you could see, the alley is a mess with drainage. Just water sit, and it has no way to get out of there. When you take a walk through the alley is built up higher than the backyards, higher than the garages. So when you get any flow, it can't get out of there. So when we look at projects like this, the best alternative is to put in a concrete alley with a inverted slope. So that means that the slope is towards the middle. So it lets that water go down the middle of the alley, then it goes out to the cross streets. When we do these, we try to get the alley slope to be lower than some of the backyards, and we really try to get it lower than the garages. That way any drainage coming off the garages could get out in the alley and then out in the street. Like this spring when we have our melt, that alley is going to be a mess because it has no way of getting out. So we put together some numbers, and those were the numbers that were part of the assessment. Usually I try to estimate a little high, but the prices that will be billed to the property owners would be what we come up with some bid prices through a contractor bid. With that, I will open it up to any of the public. I will say that we did put out a notice to all the property owners. We went one step further than we typically do, and we asked what percentage of the property owners were for it or against it or really undecided. And we came back with 7 of the 10 property owners were against it, 2 property owners were for it, and 1 we didn't get a response. So with that, I'll open it up to any other discussion.
I've got one question first. So when the Planning Commission is looking with people doing private development, and we just had one on East Havens, we request that a drainage study be done. Has there been a drainage study done on this? Do we have a professional drainage study on this? My fear is we're going to put a hardcore surface in there and flood a bunch of backyards.
So once this goes through, what we do is we go out and topo the whole area.
Well, I'd like to see it before it would go through.
Okay.
Otherwise, why?
What he's saying, part of the design is
right, but part of
the
we have to decide whether we're going to do it before they do the design.
And
we don't allow other property owners that right.
So if the design, what we've done before, but in most cases it works, is we will go out and do the topo survey, start the design process, and if the design doesn't work, then we go to the property owners and say, this option isn't going to work, so then we don't do the assessment. If we went the other way around, there's a fair amount of work that goes into.
I think a part of what your concern is, this is an older development, which is why there's no drainage study for it. It was long before planning and zoning ever existed. So.
Terry, why would we want to go forward when we know that 70% of the people are against it? Right. I mean, you said we should vote on this, and then we wait to poll them once. Why would we want to poll them again?
Because in order to proceed with this, I need you guys to make that decision whether or not you want to, whether you want to approve it or not approve it. I can't make that decision. I could only tell you what I was asked to do is figure out a way to make this drainage work. The right way to make this drainage work is to put in a concrete alley.
And the only way we can do that is listen to the hearing, then go to the application.
Right.
Correct?
And John, just to help clarify, Terry did leave off one step on that special assessment process is even if the adjacent property owners who are going to be getting assessed here, if they come back with a majority disapproving of this, the council can still choose to proceed with a 2/3 vote in favor of the project.
Part of this is precipitated because of the drainage and the number of times you have to go grade this alley. Is that right? Typically, you grade once in the fall and once in the spring.
Correct.
How often do you grade this alley?
Probably twice a year.
This winter it's been done once. That was a week ago, right after this came out.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, again, with grading an area that's unimproved, it's very difficult, and Kevin could probably talk to that more than I can. it has very little drainage capability right now. So grading it doesn't do much. It might get rid of the rutting, but eventually it's going to end up happening again and again. Again, the improvement plan would gear us toward taking those drainage problems out of the equation.
Kyle, would a load of gravel work?
I believe a load of gravel will work temporarily. It provides a hard surface, but ultimately, you know, like Terry had mentioned, the travelway or the alleyway is built up higher. There's nowhere to put the drainage. So the inverted crown that we have for a design actually conveys the water away from the alley toward the street.
Question, when's the last time a load of gravel has ever been in that alley? None. That's a good answer.
So Kevin does have an estimate on what it would cost to bring in 6 inches of gravel and then do a maintenance plan over 10, 20, 30 years. Again, putting in the gravel surface for 6 inches would last a year or two. I think we would still get the rutting. We would still have the drainage on top of that surface. We still would have to plow it once a year, twice a year. You're taking that gravel down again. His estimates are initial cost maybe $4,000 for constructing that 6-inch base, but over 10 years, we would put $7,000 to $9,000 into it. Over 20 years, we're talking about $30,000 up to $40,000 for 30 years.
So one of the problems is the garbage trucks going down there. That's probably the biggest vehicle that would be going down there, wouldn't it?
Those are the heaviest trucks in the alleyway, yes.
Maybe we could have them take their garbage out to the curb, and that would eliminate a lot of the weight going down the alley. If, you know,
I think that is one way to approach that. Does that mean that we would have to have an ordinance? And it's a question to Justin. I mean, do we restrict the private companies from going down the alley as well, all alleys? And that's Petrick and Miedema, the pickup service in the alleys. Or, you know, we're not solving the problem if just the city garbage truck doesn't go down there.
True, but I think there's a lot less use by Petrick and Miedema. And quite frankly, my opinion is we should be moving our garbage pickup citywide to the curbside with the automated trucks. So,
Kyle, is this the only alley in the city that, or I can't imagine we have but a whole bunch of alleys that need paving?
We actually do have quite a few. Terry knows more about that area, but in that neighborhood, there's quite a few alleys that need improvement, and there's similar to this that they don't have drainage improvements.
We don't get a ton of requests for alley improvements because I think they work a little bit better than this alley does in drainage. But this alley, like Kyle has been saying, this alley is built up so much higher than the driveways, the backyards. Anytime we're going to be doing some grading, adding gravel, you're adding more thickness. If you don't take anything out, all that water is going to go back into the garages and back into the yards. And like I told him too, it's very rarely, when we get a request to do an alley improvement, it's very rarely we have a large number of people that are against an alley improvement. Most of the time we have the favoritism to do it. And then once it gets done, people are just glad because now that alley finally drains. And you're not tracking mud and stuff like that into your backyard or into your garage.
Another suggestion I have is I heard from 5 people that of the 10 that got the letters. And I had no idea what they're talking about because none of us on the council had any idea that this was even
Kevin, that's not
happening.
true. It was item H on the consent agenda at the last meeting.
Was it? Okay,
yes.
I must have missed that.
And we all voted for it.
Okay. But what I'm saying, if they get a letter, maybe it would be nice to pass one on to us. So.
I think that's been discussed so that in the future that will happen, correct? Anybody in the audience want to come up and speak to it? This is your chance rather than sit back there and yell answers or comments up.
My name is Stuart Hansen. I'm one of the property owners. There's 10 properties that are involved in this process or whatever, and only 4 of them have alley access. And as far as I know, only 2 of those want this improvement or are going to vote for this improvement. We don't have alley access. I have probably the biggest lot there, so I'm expected to pay more than anybody, and I don't want this thing to go through either. I don't know why the city couldn't come in and hire somebody to, he says it's too high, the alley's too high, and why not scrape it down like they would do with the cement, and then get it down low and then put the gravel in there and maintain it. I mean, that to me is a simple solution for me. And now you're talking, some of these people that live in this neighborhood are old, they've got just, you know, they're on a budget, they can't afford this. I mean, to me, it's not a necessity. To me, and the necessity is paying my taxes, buying groceries, paying doctor bills, you know, stuff like that. That's a necessity to me. And so he was talking about, well, people come in and there's mud in the alley and they get mud on their feet and they get it and they track it in the garage or it's in the garage. It's no different in the wintertime when my wife comes home from work and there's all the gravel and all the salt and all the crap that's on her car, and she pulls in the garage and there's the same kind of crap that's in the garage as there would be if we had alley access. So I meant, you can use anything you want for an excuse, but I meant if they could come in and grade it down like you said and get it down lower, you know, and then keep the trucks from going through there. But to make 7 or 8 people pay to improve 2 people, basically 2 people's properties, is ridiculous. Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Mike Strelo. I live at 1515 East 3rd. Those are my pictures. This was a simple request, not to piss off any of my neighbors. Thought maybe we'd get something done, improve the property value, take care of the water. If you can cut it down, put a nice base layer of gravel in there, I'd be happy with that. I just don't like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just curious if there's anyone in the audience who's in favor of doing it.
He was.
Oh, but he just said that if we would do the gravel, that would be acceptable to him.
Yeah, but those are his pictures.
Yeah, right. But didn't you just say that if we can do that, that you'd be amenable to that, to the gravel? Where'd you go?
He's right here.
Yeah. Did you say you'd be agreeable with that?
I'm fine with that. It was a simple request to put concrete in.
Right.
I didn't know. I just moved in there. I've only been there about 2 years.
Uh-huh.
This started before I even bought the house.
Yeah.
So I was on board. I was approached about it.
Yeah.
I was on board with it. But if they can fix it by cutting the gravel out, getting rid of that slop hole, I'm all for it. That's fine by me.
Sure.
So just to explain a little bit on the gravel situation, if we can go in there and cut it down and put heavy layer gravel in there, we're not going to fix the drainage because we're not going to be able to create that inverted crown. We might be able to lower it a little bit, but with a gravel surface, we need more slope to get out to the street. Where a concrete section with the inverted crown, we can make it a lot flatter, lower it a lot more, and provide a better help to those backyards and those driveways. But by doing it gravel, we could have a harder surface. Won't be as sloshy and muddy, but we won't be able to improve the drainage as much as with a concrete alley.
Okay.
I'm one of the property owners. That slop
State
hole.
your name.
That one on the left. My name's Steve McClure.
Thank you.
That slop hole is in front of my garage. I can't see paying $5,000 to get that slop hole out of my deal. All that road needs is maintenance. It don't need to be cement. When I have to pay $5,000 to get a hold of that slop hole, I get rid of that slop hole by digging. All I want is gravel put in there, maintained, and let it go at that. My snowblower will clean that alley out that I use to go out of there if I need to. I'm probably the oldest guy on there that uses that alley. And I can't see paying $5,000 for it.
Okay, thank you.
That's my opinion.
Terry, if the city does the gravel work, does the city pick up the bill on that?
I would think so, yes. Yeah.
My name's Travis Stoons. I live in the center there. You can see my garage right on the left-hand picture. I'm the one that started this process 6 years ago or so. At that time, Terry was talking like $3,000 roughly. Obviously, labor's went up and everything since then to come up with the $5,000. It was just a thought, and it has carried on. I kept harassing, asking where we were, where are we. With the majority against it, I'm in the same spot. I'm not here to make, neighbors upset. It's just, let's fix it. And at that time, Terry was telling me that concrete was the way, and I'm like, whatever it takes, let's get it done. $5,000 is not acceptable to any one of us on the block. So with that, I mean, if we can grade it, get it so it's not a slop hole, I'm the one of them for the concrete. I would be okay with gravel as well if we just take care of the problem and maintain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Randy Sepla, and I'm one of the landowners. I've lived in that property for well over 30 years. I think I've gone down the alley maybe 6 times in 30 years. I have absolutely no use for it, and I don't feel like I need to pay $5,000 for something that I don't use. I don't want to upset my neighbors, but that's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Dagan. I'm here to speak on behalf of my mother, who's lived in the neighborhood for 59 years with a gravel alley. And she's 82 years old, living on a fixed income. I think after 59 years, I think she can live without that alley paved. The other thing you're talking about, drainage, where's that water going to go after it drains out of the alley? There are no, I think all that water drains down to First and Foster, which floods now. I know because I used to own that station there and deal with the water there. Because I live at 1400 East 4th, I think all our water runs to First and Foster. So you're just adding more water onto that problem also.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council?
I'll make a motion to deny putting the cement in the alley on 2nd and 3rd alley, 2nd Street and 3rd Street alley.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that and it's resolution 2019-19.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I just think that it's important for us to point out that if we're going to keep this passable, that taking the garbage to the front is probably going to be a necessary next step. And so I guess my hope is that people understand that that's one way that we're going to be able to preventing that from happening is by keeping those large trucks off. So I think that's maybe something that we need to at least acknowledge.
I would agree.
Yeah, take the alley out. Take your garbage out front if you can.
That's a potential different ordinance and different other to discuss that might apply to other places than just this block on 3rd and 4th.
Correct. Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So that handles item 11, correct?
That takes care of 9
excuse
and 10.
me, item 10. 9 and 10 are done. Item Yeah, you did. Item 11, action to approve agreement 2019-09, South Dakota Department of Transportation for snow removal on 3P East First Street from Matty Street to State Road 38. Mr. Croce?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an agenda request for the city to provide that snow removal and plowing on that section of roadway. If Justin has that picture, it actually is that section of 38P, which goes from Matty all the way down to 38, around the development of the woods and the east section of town. The city already maintains a lot of that just to make sure it's easy for residents on that east section of town to move around, get in and out of. The agreement is for the DOT to pay us an hourly rate for plowing that. So staff recommends city approval.
That's not a snow emergency route, is it? Does it go up to Matty with the snow?
That's
emergency?
the area we're talking about.
Right.
So,
Oh, okay.
right.
So it's
right.
not
Yeah.
going to extend it. We're just going to do it.
Right.
Whenever.
This is actually out in the county, correct?
Yeah, once you get
All the road.
It
once
is.
you get past.
The DOT owns that part
Yeah,
of the roadway.
okay.
But Kyle,
DOT has
we've been doing this, Kyle, correct?
Yes, sir.
This has
We
been going
have.
on for years.
Yes.
That we've
Yes.
been doing it, and now you're going to tell me we're going to keep on doing it. Now we're going to get paid for
We're
it.
going to get paid for it.
Now we're going to get paid for it.
Oh, yeah. Move to approve.
Second. Second.
That was an easier way to say it.
We have a motion by Mr. Barrington. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion?
Who negotiated that? You, Kyle?
Actually, the DOT approached us with that.
Good.
So we've got a good relationship with the DOT.
Yeah, awesome. Thank them.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 12, action to approve agreement A 2019-10, agency agreement with DOT Air, Rail, and Transit for airport projects and authorizing the mayor as the authorized representative for the city of Mitchell.
Mr. Mayor and Council, and this is the standard annual agreement we have with DOT, and it's required by state law for us to accept those funds that we get for the airport as well. It's not specific to any maintenance that has been passed before. It's a standard agreement that we have.
Move to approve 2019-10.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, you want to make your motion to table?
Yeah, item 13, I'd like to make the motion to table, and Linda, to the next meeting is enough, or do I, okay, table item 13 to the next meeting for, give us time to gather further information.
Second.
Okay, hold on here. Not so fast. Motion by Mr. Rice.
Second.
You're pointing at each other. Second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And now I'd like to add an item of executive session for legal item under South Dakota Codified Law.
Yep, so that's a motion to enter executive session pursuant to 1-25-2 sub 3 legal.
What he said.
A motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll adjourn into
Go in
executive
there.
session in my office, and then we will return to finish the agenda. Do we need a motion to move out of executive session?
No motion, just declare that we're back in regular session.
Back in session. Item 14, action to approve Agreement A 2019-12, 301 North Main Settlement Agreement. Okay, as you're all aware.
Justin, any comment?
Go ahead.
I'll just give you the basics. What this would end up doing is resolving the civil case that's been going on with the 301 North Main nuisance. In essence, the property owner would be giving the property to the city, paying back taxes, making sure that no tenants were still in the building, and then the city would take over and proceed with the demolition of the property.
And then the property would be ours?
Correct.
I will make a motion to approve the settlement agreement.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rice.
Second.
Second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Roll call vote, please.
Savers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher.
No.
McCardle.
No.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
No.
Sharks.
No.
4-3 not to approve.
Okay. So motion failed.